So our panel discussion for this morning is entitled Real Estate Reinvented, How Today's Technology is Rewriting Tomorrow's Rulebook. And we'll be looking at how agents and innovators unpack data, digital tools, they're transforming the client listings, the way that deals are done, the way that marketing is done. Hopefully it will be a learning experience for us all and a source of inspiration. To help me through this, because I certainly couldn't do it by myself, please welcome to the stage the first of our panelists, Ms. Tammy Tang, Managing Director of Colliers China. Now, Colliers China acts as please sit wherever you like, Tammy. It's entirely up to you. Colliers China acts as city development and investment promotion advisors to many municipal governments across China, working with state-owned and private investors, developers, and occupiers at all scales. The business covers the whole cycle of real estate investments and development. Tammy has many years' experience in the China real estate market. She's an expert in real estate policy and market dynamics, acts as a local government economic development advisor, and has helped many Chinese clients to set up business overseas, as well as helping overseas developers attract Chinese investors and occupiers. She's been recognized not only by us, but also by Forbes and Fortune magazines as one of China's most prominent businesswomen. We're delighted to have her here today. Ladies and gentlemen, Tammy Tang. Next we have Arpit Mehrotra, Managing Director for Office Services at Colliers India. Welcome, Arpit. Give him that's it, encouragement. Colliers is a global, diversified professional services and investment management company, heading up office services for the whole of India, and he's still got a smile on his face, despite a huge geographical area to look after, is Arpit. With more than 2 decades of varied experience in the real estate industry, he's honed his ability to devise and implement comprehensive real estate solutions for a wide range of clients, including occupiers, developers, and investors. His leadership has guided pivotal transactions that have not only bolstered the firm's standing in the market, but also solidified its client relationships. Arpit's deep understanding and sharp business insight have been instrumental in uncovering new opportunities, broadening industry connections, and breaking into new markets for the company. Thank you so much for joining us. And last but by no means least, please welcome Jenny Doolan, Vice President of Global Growth at leading real estate companies of the world. Jenny, welcome. LeadingRE, as it's known, brings together over 550 top independent firms across 70 countries, working to shape the future of real estate through collaboration, innovation, and shared values. Jenny leads global growth strategy, international expansion, and network development across all regions. She works closely with leaders and company owners, advising on positioning, partnerships, and market opportunities. Prior to LeadingRE, she worked with top-tier development firms, supporting their global expansion and strengthening international business connections. Ladies and gentlemen, your panel. So, to you, Tammy, first of all, personally, you have consistently identified emerging sectors early, from business parks and data centers to tourism real estate and healthcare, and then you use that to inform public authorities on city development, economic growth, and investment promotion. So, without giving all your secrets away, how do you spot the next major opportunity before the market catches up?
I'm good to give up all my secrets.
Fantastic. We love that. That's what we're here
not valuable
for.
Anymore in the AI age. I would say opportunities are everywhere in our daily life, right? As long as you open your eyes, watch and appreciate everything around you, and then pick up ideas that are not in your business or industry. So let's say, for example, live streaming has been there forever, but it's just not in our industry. Then the next thing I think, okay, this is great, what my kids are playing. Can I adopt it in our industry? And that's where a good idea started. Last year, we have started a live broadcast on office leasing, promoting office listing. So for every day, 2 to 6 o'clock, the live broadcast is on 2 live streaming channels, TikTok and WeChat. We've been doing it for a year. It pushes up our leads and views double, right? So how did I come about doing that? Because I watch it myself on other things. You buy, you do shopping, you watch it, and then you think, wow, I watch it, so would my client watch it if we promote office listing? And it worked. So I would say opportunities are everywhere. You just have to cross ideas into what works in other sectors. I would have to say we're very traditional. We love to stick with what we know, and we're very scared of adopting new things. We don't like them. We're like, oh, this is consumer products. This is not us. But a lot of ideas can be crossed.
All right, thank you for that. And we'll talk more about your online presence, because I think it's obviously central to a lot of what you do, and I think it will be a source of great inspiration. So more on that later, Tammy. Arpit, India's real estate market has undergone remarkable expansion in recent years. I think everybody's probably aware of that. So in your expert view, what are the factors and also the groups that have been driving that growth? And what does it mean to be operating in such a dynamic environment?
Thank you so much, Jenny. And for everyone, just wanted to share a little more about India. India as an economy is a $4 to $5 trillion economy. And real estate contributes $600 to $700 billion yearly. What we see is that the growth is around CAGR is between 8 to 11% for the real estate industry. And we expect this entire industry to grow by 2030 to $1 to $1.5 trillion. What it means is that between 2030 to 2047, we expect this to be around a $5.5 to $5.8 trillion economy. The few considerates of India real estate, I think residential contribute between 65 to 70% of the business, and commercial office market contributes between 15 to 25%. Industrial, and I was speaking with Tammy before that, is between 8 to 10% of the growth, which we see. Rest is balance. Now, the drivers is definitely one of the few things is technology. India contributes a lot in terms of a global tech park itself, the kind of a quality of a talent and the amount of work, especially in artificial intelligence and machine learning, has been instrumental for a growth for real estate equally. So yes, the young talent and a lot of focus on the new age learning, AI, ML, to give few names, I think that's where the growth is coming up. Okay,
thank you for that. And again, we'll come back to those issues and those opportunities later. Thank you, Arpit. Jenny, obviously you've got the benefit of a front row seat on how markets are operating all over the world. So when you look across that landscape, across the globe, where are you seeing the most meaningful innovation happen now? And are there some surprising trends for you?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me back on stage. It's great to be back and to be back with Tammy and meet Arpit. So I'm looking forward to today's discussion. Yeah, I think one of the advantages definitely of being part of a global sort of referral network membership organization is that I get an insight, a kind of detailed insight into multiple individual businesses and how they operate on a global scale. You know, we work with 550 companies across 70 different countries, all very different types of real estate agencies. So some are small, some are very big, some have hundreds of agents, some have a boutique team. So it's great to see different approaches to marketing, to recruitment, to referral generation, to customer engagement. But the way that I look at kind of innovation and look and think about how or why would a company first approach an organization like LeadingRE, and usually it's not because they're kind of looking to completely reinvent themselves or reinvent the wheel. It's just that they're looking for some kind of wider reach and, you know, global collaboration and global opportunities. And usually what we find a lot of the time is that people will approach us and kind of look for an opportunity to kind of put the LeadingRE logo on the website, upload their listings onto the LeadingRE website, and then sit back and wait for the hordes of international referrals to roll in. But oh, if it was only that easy. So the ones that we really
Tammy's
see...
laughing.
It will happen if you come on board, Tammy. But, you know, the member firms that we see true success with are those that understand that there's a couple of additional steps that are required. So I think it's not just about visibility, it's about brand positioning. And if I was to give an example of a member that we have, you know, we have a member in Dubai, Better Homes, and they made a fantastic job of really understanding the kind of strategy behind going global. You know, they have a very strong independent brand. They've been established in Dubai for over 40 years. They're one of the oldest brokerages there, or the oldest, I think. But when they joined, yes, they threaded our logo throughout their website and their materials, but then they also did a huge launch campaign online using social media to promote why they had been selected and what impact that would have for their clients going, you know, becoming part of a global organization. They even established a YouTube series interviewing other real estate members in the LeadingRE network to talk about other markets and local insights. And so rather than saying, you know, we're here and we sell Dubai real estate, they came along to say, you know, we already sell Dubai real estate, but now we're going global. And so they really position themselves effectively. I think another strategy of success when you're going and expanding into sort of global operations, be it through a network or other ways, is to get the buy-in from the whole company. Because it's very easy to get at a broker level complete engagement with, you know, global opportunities, but do the agents understand what they have opportunities to do? You know, we always speak with our members to see, you know, does your agent have these conversations with clients about outbound opportunities? It's not always about inbound sales. When they're dealing with their clients, are they asking them, you know, do you ever consider buying a second home in another country? Have you ever thought about relocating abroad? Because they can identify those referral opportunities for outbound. And that's really where the referral culture kind of starts to kick in.
All right, fantastic. We'll come back to the online presence, as I've mentioned, a little bit later on. But thank you, Jenny, for the moment. Tammy, you sit at the junction of business, government, and urban development, as we said in the introduction. So how is innovation, do you think, changing the way that cities attract investment? What should real estate leaders understand about the future of city building?
Well, I operate in China, right? And China is huge on city building, urban planning, and smart cities, right? So in the middle of that infrastructure, we're building AIDC at a very low cost. We're building all the networks at very low cost and make green power also low cost and sustainable on top of, you know, talent. I think infrastructure is what China is very, very good at. Now they have to work on, okay, now we have everything. How do we bring people in? So if we look forward and say most of the business will have to have some sort of AI tools or AI transformation, then China make it very cheap and economical, right? So if a business come in and say, well, I'm eyeing the China market or I want to expand in this city, the local government can actually give you access to very low-cost infrastructure on top of, you know, your tokens, your talent, and even business introduction. So we've moved above only providing infrastructure, but everything you need on top of it. And that's, I think, is very powerful. We have had a lot of, let's say, you know, the world, every country wants to sell something to China, to Chinese people, right? And now if you're eyeing, let's say, Shanghai, you can come to Shanghai and say, well, you know, I have my dealers and everything, but I need data into who will buy, right? Or I need to work on our AI tools so that we can generate more data as to whom we should sell. You can actually go into that city and talk to the government, and then they will offer that service to you at a very low cost.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Arpit, let's talk about sustainability, because sustainability credentials have become increasingly important for real estate developers in India. But good, strong sustainability credentials, not just tick the box, yeah, we've done it. So what's driven that shift? How are expectations evolving amongst occupiers, amongst investors and developers themselves?
In fact, for this, I will say thanks to the occupiers for that, because I think Indian developers, especially the grade A developers, have realized that that is not anymore a tick box. That is the need of an hour for any multinational company coming down to this part of the world. In fact, if I talk about probably a decade or 1.5 decades back, then probably 60% of the new construction that point was having the LEED certification, whether it is a US LEED or a India LEED when it comes to certification on sustainability. But now with the new construction of a grade A construction coming down in the country, 90% of them are the new sustainable asset which is coming down. So it is no more a tick box, it's a necessity, because every organization has their growth plans when it comes to carbon credits and sustainability. So that's something which is coming up. From an cost perspective, yes, it adds to the landlord cost. But from an overall return perspective, I think giving it back to the society, it makes sense. Now, how it help investors, because when clients go down in this grade A sustainable assets, they plan their long-term investment in these kind of an asset. So from an investor perspective, that gives a high capital yields and returns compared to the non-sustainable assets. Not only in commercial assets, we are seeing a sustainable growth, but now in a lot of residential assets, whether a lot of focus on the ESG, a lot of focus on the biophilic thought process is coming down. So that's where the Indian real estate market is moving.
Okay, thank you for that. Jenny, we have to talk about uncomfortable things as well. You know, there's a lot of good things going on, but let's talk about something a little bit uncomfortable. Obviously, we are all, and we're very well aware of it, operating in increasingly unpredictable environments, geopolitical tensions, shifting regulations, market volatility, unexpected travel disruptions. So in times like these, do you see innovation as a competitive advantage, or has it become essential just for survival of companies? What does it look like in practice, do you think, for real estate firms when facing some of these challenges?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a very kind of timely and relevant topic for sure. And I think, you know, overall, the last few years fundamentally has changed how real estate companies think about innovation. You know, we're operating in a world now where global events are influencing local business decisions faster than ever before. We're seeing a lot of that play out in real time right now. And that is, as you mentioned, Etholle, you know, geopolitical instability, travel disruption, affordability pressure. You know, these are all things that can affect consumer confidence very quickly. And for me, again, seeing so many diverse markets and different types of companies, what's always very interesting to me is how differently firms respond during these moments. You know, the companies that struggle are often the ones who've maybe reacted emotionally or just waited too long. And the firms that have succeeded are usually the ones, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier as well, you know, preparation is key, those that prepared before the disruption even arrived. And yes, that's not always possible to know what's coming, but the more that you diversify your business and be open to other opportunities, then the more prepared you can be for periods of instability and change. You know, a good example, one example of this could be our member firm in Germany, you know, years ago identified that there was an upcoming tax change for Germans who were looking to relocate abroad. There would be like a heavy exit tax implemented. So with a deadline looming, he immediately started to reposition his business in order to be able to offer outbound services through the network. And he really structured a buyer's representative service for Germans looking to relocate abroad. And he was ahead of the curve that way. You know, and that's innovation too. It's not just technology, but it's strategic foresight. I think another example more relevant to now would be, again, going back to the member I mentioned earlier, Better Homes in Dubai. You know, the way that they have responded to this current situation has been really impressed me, because they've leaned very heavily into, you know, transparency and honesty, and as opposed to kind of pulling the wool over their database of clients' eyes, they've really tapped into their marketing abilities to give honest market updates, insights into opportunities that are available right now, but aside from that, because they had established this great kind of global launch when they joined the LeadingRE network, and they had already started these sort of market spotlights and speaking with other members and identifying themselves as a go-to global advisor for anybody who may be looking to buy into Dubai or outside of Dubai, this meant that they are not dependent on one local market. They are also open to global opportunities. And so, you know, in summary, I would say that I think, in answer to your question, Etholle, you know, innovation during uncertain times is no longer optional. I think it's resilience, it's preparation, and more importantly, it's adaptability.
Okay, fantastic. Let's talk about AI. We had some interesting insights into AI and architecture yesterday. Tammy, AI is already beginning to reshape, of course, the real estate sector. You're helping drive that evolution, I have to say. So how are you using AI at Colliers China today? Where do you think firms should be focusing their attention if they want to remain competitive?
Well, Colliers as a global company has already started investing in AI big time, right? So we draw the line between using AI to help increase our own productivity among the staff and helping clients, right? So increasing productivity is really all about, you have all this data, you have all these good track records, and you have all these leads among people, and you know, your broker knows this client, but you know, the other broker didn't know. So there's a lot of these information barriers within a people's organization. So using AI can actually much easier to breach that because information are easily accessible, and it can prompt you to say, oh, you're working on that? Because you're working on a PPT for that logo, someone else in your organization have already had a good case with them. So talk to them. So previously, we have to be prompting that ourselves, right, from the brokers. And you can't expect everyone to do the same thing, right? The good brokers know what to do, but you still have the up-and-coming one that they need that advice. So right now, internally, a lot of information barriers can be broken down and very efficient. Now, helping clients is another thing. I keep saying our industry is very traditional because we are, right? So we're developing a new tools on site visits, right? It's a conversation analysis. So a client comes to you, and the whole conversation is analyzed, not record, because recording is in the gray area against the law, but analyzing and giving a summary and snapshot on what the client cares about, maybe in the 3 keywords, right? So a lot of this technology is actually accessible, but are we using them? Now, this technology is already widely used in residential in China and also retail shops for car sales, right? But basically, we're recording. Even in property management, we're recording because if anything happens, you want to extract that and then you want to find out what, right? It's like video recording, same thing. But we're keeping all those like sunk data without using them. So now if a sales process, be it 20 minutes on a site visit, is analyzed and then keyword put out, it actually helps senior management to make fast decisions. So at brokers, our problem is we keep, let's say China right now is in a downslope market. We keep telling the landlord, lower the fees, people will rent. You lower your rent, your tenant will rent. And the landlord is like, you're lying to us, right? Because he's not there. The decision maker is not there at the site inspection. So we want these tools, which we're launching in June, to actually make very fast decision for the landlord side, and it helps.
Arpit, the other side, thank you for that. The other side of AI is that the AI companies need premises, and I know that's something that you're very involved with, and this is happening a lot across India. It's a huge expansion on the Indian landscape. So what are these occupiers looking for? We've got developers in the room. What are the occupiers looking for in terms of office space and I don't know, do you call it data space, whatever it's called? And how is that refocusing developer priorities?
Absolutely. Just to add what Tammy was talking about from AI perspective, I think this has, last few years, from an intuition thought process of buying real estate, it has moved towards definitely a data-driven real estate. That's what AI has made a difference. And I absolutely agree what Tammy has been talking, because probably people were not able to realize how data was important, whether it is a pre-sales or a post-sales. Now, to do this, definitely India makes a lot of difference when it comes to technology, right? In fact, we released our own tech report, global tech report last year, and we said it was clearly evident in that 70% of the tech talent, high quality tech talent, is being now addressed in some parts of the country, especially the south and the west part of the country. Now, all these tech companies are looking quality assets, and they are looking at long-term sustainable assets. And what they have been focusing is the flexibility equally when it comes to the landlords, and they're looking at long-term commitments. I think these are the few traits. One of the key reasons they are looking out is definitely talent. A lot of universities investment, which is coming from the government, from both public universities and the private university, because that's where the breeding of the talent comes up. Gen Zs and Gen Y, people have been talking about it, but they start with technology and end their day with technology. So there is a lot of investments needs to be done, especially e-commerce, healthcare are looking much more growth in this part of the world. In fact, I'm not sure how many people know about it in India. We come from a very joint family culture. And over the last few years, we have moved down to a nuclear family culture, which means that our rationalizing of our own budget, whether it is a house budget or everything, we will have to look out and upkeep. So when we were growing up, everything was stocked in our house when it comes to food and the grains, right? But over a few years, when e-commerce have grown up, right, on a platform, now we have our deliveries in 10 minutes. You order in a platform, and in a 10-minute span, right, you get things delivered to your houses. So we do not continue to put down a lot of stuff inside our houses anymore. It's a so again, technology plays a lot of importance here, and the data. At the end of the month, you realize that what all you are consuming, where your money is going. So sometimes it is not good also, but the
Remember
data.
the birthday cake time.
Yes.
Remember birthday cake come a day before and you don't have enough space to fit it?
So that's also reason that you do not need much bigger houses. You can need what you need, right? So again, technology has a lot of boon, but it comes with its own set of pros and cons. Right now, I think I'm very positive in my thoughts equally. So I will look very positive thoughts, because everything can be challenged. Everything is data-driven, and that's where it differentiates.
Jenny, you must be, it's great to hear what Tammy and Arpit are experiencing firsthand, and you must be hearing this anecdotally around the world. What are your members saying about AI integration?
Yeah, I mean, by the way, I prefer not to look at the end of the month at what I've spent, just to clarify. You can just ignore that. Definitely we're seeing our members use AI in lots of very interesting and also practical ways. You know, one of our members in South Africa is really embedded. They built it out themselves, and internally they've got a great kind of IT structure, but they embedded a call service. So it's an AI outbound call service that calls their clients or their database to see if they're thinking of selling their property or are they thinking of buying a property. But the way that they've designed it with the South African accent and the conversational ability, they've actually fooled so many of their clients into thinking it's a real call. So it's phenomenal of how realistic it is. And that's really reduced a lot of time that their agents used to spend, you know, cold calling and trying to call out. That's just reduced that and allowed them to focus more strategically. We've also seen members using it to create AI-driven virtual tours, just simply using still images. But personally, I think one of the most interesting areas that I'm seeing it benefit the business is in communication and global reach. You know, now firms can create a multilingual video in seconds and communicate more professionally across borders. So that can make international buyers feel far more connected to a market that they may never have visited. I mean, one of my team recently created a video of me to send a message out to members, and they did it in 5 different languages. And I was watching my face move and my voice speak French, and I couldn't tell the difference. But I mean, if my high school French teacher was watching, she would have known it wasn't real. But that it's incredibly powerful because it removes barriers and, that used to slow business down significantly. What I do see, though, is that consumer behavior is changing. So they're starting to use these tools, ChatGPT and things, to search for information, deep research methods, rather than kind of heading straight to the websites. And so member firms are having to adapt and improve how they're reaching and getting into that kind of top tier of the search. The one thing that I think we have to be careful, two things really, is that number one, AI can produce very generic content. And so especially in the LeadingRE organization, because we work with companies that pride themselves on their independence and their local market kind of authenticity and integrity, it's not relying too much on the content that AI is producing that you completely lose your own personal identity, because ultimately that's what consumers are drawn towards, especially when they're searching for a home. And also that the role of AI is not to replace relationships, and that is very important. It's there to remove friction. It's there to make processes more efficient, to allow your team to perform better at what they're doing, which is building relationships. We don't want to remove that element completely. And I think I'm going on a little bit now, so I'll make it quick. But as a kind of,
I said nothing.
I can see Etholle's giving me the eye. But I think one proof of that would be that within LeadingRE, as I mentioned, we're a referral network. Everything we do is about generating more business between our members, and we shared about 17,000 referrals every year with a closing rate of about 60%. Now, what I find interesting is they have multiple options of ways to place their referrals. They can do it by email, they can place it on a platform, or they can do it through the human way of going through our concierge team in Chicago, who will make a direct personal introduction. And they still, more often than not, go for the human route, because they're putting their important client into the hands of another brokerage and ultimately their own reputation. And so they want to make sure that it's going in the right place and that they've got that kind of relationship in place. So I think that shows that even if sometimes you've got the easier tech routes, the relationships are still a very vital part of every real estate business.
Well, thanks for that, Jenny. And you mentioned personality, and some of you may not be aware, but Tammy has a huge online presence personally. It is phenomenal. Her presence on sites like TikTok and WeChat, RedNote. You've built this over time, Tammy, and it is about you, and it's about your connection to your audience. So why is that so important to you personally? It must take up a huge amount of your personal and private time as well. And how are you using the platforms now to engage and inspire the next generation of business people?
Yeah, so for 6 years, it's become part of my life, like eat and sleep. So it is already...
I don't think there's much sleeping. I think it's just all work.
Yeah. So using it now after 6 years, okay, there is challenge and stress to keep coming up with good content and what good content is all about. But for the last 3 years, I was also recognized as the career coach, right? So a lot of young people are coming to me and asking me their career questions or personal development question, and I answer them from the view of a third party, but someone who has been there and a female CEO of a business, of a company. So that was new to me. I didn't start it off 6 years having that view or objective, but it is already there. So now I will still keep my Sunday live stream. Every Sunday night, I'll do that from 8:30 to 11 to two channels.
Did you catch that? Every Sunday night?
Every Sunday night.
8:30 p.m. till 11 p.m.
I do about 45 of that every year. That means almost every Sunday. And for 6 years, 5 years, 5.5, right? And people can call in and tell me the story, the question, the challenge. I answer them right away. What it helps is I have a lot of fans who come up and thank me to say, I had that challenge and question. No one in my family or in my friend group can actually answer that. And you point me to the right direction. And obviously all I said was, do the right thing, make it more sustainable, in the long term, increase your EQ, right? All the positive things. So what it means is, and then with a lot of these like online income and my fan income, I just had my fan event last Sunday, last Saturday in Shanghai, and every year we sell about 500 tickets, and they will come to me and listen to my speech, and then all the income Then I donate to K Foundation, which I'm a board member, helping young children to study in the village of China. So it's a closed loop thing that I thought, okay, if you do charity, that's one thing, you give away money. But another thing is, okay, now maybe my career is already at that stage. Can I do something to help young people to look at the business and say, well, young people, do they still want to be in real estate? In China, probably right now, no. But I said, no, real estate is a really good industry to be in, and it has longevity, right? If you're 35 in AI, you're very old. 35 in real estate, you're very young. And people love that comment. And so that's a lot of positive influence that I do for myself, but it also means something to the industry.
Arpit, we can't all be Tammy. It doesn't. It honestly, it's
he can. He can. He just haven't done it yet.
Well,
Jenny can too.
You know, having that commitment and having that presence doesn't suit everyone. But there are levels. So tell us how you managed to maintain your presence in a slightly different way, because you're very keen on LinkedIn, aren't you? Yeah.
Thank you for that. But just before to answer your question, probably Tammy, if you can just help everyone to make them know how many followers you have in TikTok. I think people should know.
600,000.
600,000.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. And I've been speaking to Tammy about it. I think it takes a lot of effort to put down the content every Sunday for 2.5 hours of your personal time, family time, taking out and talking about it. But it's a way of giving back to the society, right? And that's where probably India, we do not have TikTok, sorry for that. But a professional platform like LinkedIn definitely help us. Sharing your content, because you are a messenger of your own organization, you are a voice to the industry. So a lot of the content and the information has to go down in the form of social media. What we keep on doing, we keep on utilizing our own research and data, which is there itself, and keep sharing, because it's important, because you need to bring trust and transparency in this industry, which is not often easy. Especially when it comes to Indian market itself, because a lot of people look up to us in sharing our outlook and reach. So that's where professional organization data platform like LinkedIn help us. In fact, I encourage my young leaders equally to come back and share their thoughts on what's happening, what are the insights, what we see further. Like you talked about it recently, putting down a paper and saying, sketch what 2045 or 2050 will look up in terms of a thought process. So again, we have to keep challenging. And the good part is that we are surrounded with a lot of young people around us, because the average age in our country is around 29 years, which means that there are many who are born with technology, and they are using technology more than us. Sometimes I have to learn from them, right? And which help us to grow further and be a little more inquisitive to grow for our own growth. But Tammy is definitely a legend there, and a lot of learning needs to be done from her.
We're taking inspiration. We're taking inspiration, Tammy. Jenny, just briefly, if you will, we've talked about having a personal presence, and thank you for sharing those stories. Obviously, it's very important for companies to maintain a presence. So what lessons are you learning about getting that balance right globally?
Yeah, I think LeadingRE is like the kind of shy brand in some ways, because we try to be the global brand behind the local brand. Any kind of spotlight goes to our members, media opportunities, exposure. It goes to building our members' independent brands to make them stronger and more globally aware. But I think we're seeing a bit of a paradox at the moment, because we've got an uprise of kind of consumers that want the best of both worlds. You know, they want that sort of global reach and sophistication when it comes to maybe listing their home or buying a home, but they also want that trust and authenticity. So I think it really ultimately all comes back to relationships. You know, how you establish yourself as a local business is very important, to keep that authenticity, to keep that local expertise, but also not to feel intimidated that if you are a localized independent business, that you are going to be swallowed up by the bigger companies, because you have those opportunities to expand your global reach whilst retaining your independent identity. You know, you can have this access to more listing exposure, brand exposure, networking, and more importantly, relationships, because that's where the business comes from. And the same applies to developers. You know, we work with a lot of developers, and developers already have great SEO, marketing teams, you know, exposure online, social media presence. What they are missing or looking for is to find a way to have access to stronger direct relationships with companies and real estate agencies that have, you know, international buyers. And that's where something like having this kind of global affiliation can support that.
Fantastic. One more question to you, Tammy, and it's about Colliers China having been recognized by HR Asia as one of the best companies to work for 7 consecutive years. So just, if you will, share some of those secrets with us. What do you think makes your workplace special?
I think what people see is the award, but what we like about is the process. The process enabled us to pump all the questions to our staff to say, this is what globally staff cares about, right? And then have them to answer every single question. And wherever you get good score, you know what you're good at. You get low score, you work on that. We actually like the process as well. Now, being good employee, we're a people business as a brokerage, right? So I think culture is the most important thing, right? Is there a lot of innovation? I don't think so. It's more about building the right culture, lead from the top, right? So if I can innovate by doing all these things, then everyone can. And you allow that creativity to come up, because, well, Tammy's doing that, then I can try something else. And you reward the result, but then you don't penalize the creativity. So if they start something and it goes wrong, I did that myself, right? But then if you penalize the creativity, then everyone stopped, right? So have we done something a little bit more? I talked about breaking barriers before, right? So what we realize is a lot of brokers, they have a lot of clients' information. Now we have, as Colliers, we have a very sophisticated CRE system to pump all this information in, but until the deal is quite almost done, they don't want to put it in, right? They still have this like anxiety. So we create a little function in our staff app. Just punch in the company name and how familiar you are with that client. That's all. 2 lines of information, not 20, because people just can't be bothered. Company name and how familiar you are. So I can literally go into it. If I'm phoning a client, this is the company name, and then immediately I know which one in my company know that client, and then go talk to them. And everything is covered. No one talked about it. You don't have to be exposed. It's not in like the company system. Maybe you just want to talk to that client, right? It's not in the deal yet. So that works, and people love it. And they're like, okay, the company is helping us, right? Doing a little bit of innovation to help us do more business.
Well, thank you so much. I think it has been a true inspiration to learn about the innovations and the tried and tested techniques as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please thank them so much. Tammy Tang, Arpit Mehrotra, Jenny Doolan, thank you so much. Thank you.